Did you know that over 1.6 million Australian households are under rental stress, spending more than 30% of their income just to keep a roof over their heads? And it's not just renters feeling the heat. Homeowners are struggling too, as mortgage repayments skyrocket and property prices push first home buyers further out of reach. But what if everything was about to change? In 2026, Australia is rolling out 10 powerful new housing laws, and they're not just tweaks to the system. These changes could freeze rents, limit Airbnb-style listings, force landlords to make energy upgrades, and even stop evictions without a solid reason. Some say it's the most ambitious housing reform in decades. Others fear it could backfire. So what's really happening? Who wins and who could lose out? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how these new laws could impact your rent, your home, and your future. Number 1. National Rent Freeze Proposal. Imagine signing a lease and knowing your rent won't jump suddenly in 6 months or even a year. That could soon be reality. One of the most talked about housing reforms set for 2026 is the National Rent Freeze Proposal, a bold move aimed at easing the pressure on millions of renters across Australia. Under this plan, rent increases would be capped or completely frozen for up to 2 years, depending on the location and local housing conditions. The proposal is backed by growing concerns from economists and housing advocates, especially as data shows rents have surged by more than 30% in some cities since 2022, outpacing wage growth and driving more families into financial stress. But why is this happening now? A 2024 report by the Grattan Institute revealed that 1 in 3 low-income renters are spending too much of their income on housing, often sacrificing essentials like food, healthcare, and education just to afford rent. The rent freeze aims to bring immediate relief, giving tenants breathing room while the government addresses deeper housing supply issues. It would also force landlords to justify any increase in rent with clear documentation, including proof of property improvements or rising maintenance costs, making rent hikes a transparent process rather than an unchecked profit move. Of course, not everyone is cheering. Critics argue it could discourage investment in rental properties or lead to landlords pulling homes from the market entirely. But supporters say the freeze isn't permanent. It's a temporary solution to stop the bleeding while more long-term housing strategies take shape. For renters, this law could mean more stability, predictable living costs, and a break from the fear of being priced out overnight. If passed, it might just be one of the most significant renter protections in Australian history.
Number 2. Mandatory minimum energy efficiency standards. Picture this. It's the middle of winter. You're paying sky-high power bills, and your rental feels more like a freezer than a home. That's the daily reality for thousands of Australians living in poorly insulated, energy-wasting rental properties. But in 2026, that could finally change. The government is introducing mandatory minimum energy efficiency standards for all rental homes, forcing landlords to meet basic environmental and comfort benchmarks before listing their properties. Under the proposed law, every rental must include proper insulation, energy-efficient windows, and safe heating systems. This isn't just about being eco-friendly. Research from the CSIRO shows that energy-inefficient homes cost renters up to 25% more on power bills annually, and can even lead to serious health problems during extreme heat or cold. For families on low incomes, it's a double hit: high energy bills and low living comfort. The new standards aim to flip that equation. By making upgrades like ceiling drafts, improving insulation, and installing more efficient appliances, rental homes will become safer, cheaper to run, and better for the environment. Landlords who fail to comply could face fines, and properties may even be pulled from the rental market until upgraded. What's in it for renters? A lot. This reform could mean warmer winters, cooler summers, and hundreds of dollars saved every year on energy costs. It also levels the playing field, ensuring tenants don't have to choose between affordability and livability. Some property owners argue the upfront costs of upgrades are too high, but the government is exploring grants and tax incentives to ease the burden. Because at the end of the day, every Australian deserves to live in a home that's healthy, energy efficient, and fit for modern living. This law could bring us one big step closer.
Number 3. First-time buyer stamp duty reform. Buying your first home in Australia can feel impossible. Between saving for a deposit, covering legal fees, and dealing with soaring property prices, there's one extra cost that quietly crushes the dream for many: stamp duty. But in 2026, that could change dramatically. The government is rolling out a major reform aimed at first-time buyers, replacing traditional stamp duty with a smaller annual property tax. Why does this matter? Stamp duty often adds tens of thousands of dollars upfront to the cost of a home. In cities like Sydney and Melbourne, first-home buyers can pay over $30,000 just in stamp duty, money that could have gone toward the deposit or moving costs. The new model spreads the cost over many years, making it easier to get into the market sooner without needing to save as much upfront. This isn't just theory, it's based on economic modeling and real-world trials. In New South Wales, a similar opt-in program showed promising results, with more young buyers entering the market and less financial strain during the purchasing process. The 2026 plan aims to expand this across the country, creating a more flexible, buyer-friendly system. Of course, the annual property tax will still need to be paid, but for many, it's a manageable and predictable cost compared to the giant hurdle of stamp duty. It also means buyers have more choice. They can move more freely without worrying about losing thousands each time they change homes. This reform could open the door to home ownership for a new generation of Australians who've been locked out for too long. If you've been saving, dreaming, or just waiting for the right time, 2026 might finally be your moment to step onto the property ladder.
Number 4. National Short-Term Rental Cap. In some of Australia's most iconic tourist hotspots, like Byron Bay, Hobart, and inner-city Melbourne, it's becoming nearly impossible to find a long-term rental. Why? A big part of the problem lies with short-term rentals, like those listed on Airbnb. Over the last few years, thousands of properties have shifted from traditional leasing to short stays, chasing higher profits but leaving local renters out in the cold. But in 2026, the government plans to step in with a national short-term rental cap, and it could change the game. This proposed law would limit the number of nights per year that a property can be used for short-term rentals, especially in areas with tight rental markets. In many zones, that cap could be as low as 90 nights per year. The goal? To push more homes back into the long-term rental pool, where they're desperately needed. A 2025 housing report revealed that in some regions, over 15% of all rental properties had been converted to short-term holiday stays, driving up rents and forcing locals to move further out. By enforcing a national cap, the government hopes to restore balance between tourism and livability, ensuring that local workers, families, and students aren't priced out of their own communities. For renters, this means more available homes, lower competition, and potentially more stable rental prices. For landlords, it's a nudge to focus on long-term tenants or meet stricter licensing requirements for short stays. Of course, some property owners argue this infringes on their rights, but public support is growing fast, especially in towns where locals are being pushed out for tourists. If successful, this cap could reshape housing access in some of Australia's most in-demand locations, putting the needs of residents before short-term profits.
Number 5. Eviction without grounds abolished. Imagine coming home from work to find a letter telling you your lease won't be renewed. No reason given, no explanation, just a deadline to pack up and leave. For many renters in Australia, that's been a harsh and legal reality. But in 2026, a major shift is on the horizon. The government is said to abolish no-grounds evictions nationwide, introducing stronger protections to make housing more stable and secure. Under this proposed law, landlords will no longer be able to evict tenants without providing a clear, lawful reason. Valid grounds might include selling the property, major renovations, or repeated breaches of the lease, but they'll need to be documented and proven. This reform is inspired by similar changes already introduced in Victoria and the ACT, where early results show greater housing stability and fewer unfair evictions. The reasoning behind the law is simple. Housing is a basic human need, and tenants deserve security and peace of mind. A 2024 survey by Tenants Australia revealed that over 40% of renters had delayed reporting repairs or maintenance issues out of fear of being evicted without cause. With this new protection in place, renters can speak up and stand up for their rights without the looming threat of retaliation. For landlords, the law brings more structure and clarity to the eviction process. While it may reduce flexibility, it also encourages better communication and responsible property management. In practical terms, this means renters can finally put down roots, plan long-term, and feel safe knowing they won't be forced to move on a whim. It's a shift toward fairness and respect in the rental market, ensuring that tenancy is not just a transaction, but a stable, livable relationship between tenants and property owners.
Number 6. Owner-occupier tax discounts for long-term residency. What if staying in your home for the long haul could actually save you thousands of dollars in tax? That's exactly what the 2026 owner-occupier tax discount aims to reward. Under this proposed law, homeowners who live in their property for 10 years or more will become eligible for significant property tax discounts, creating a powerful incentive for long-term residency and community stability. This reform is based on a growing concern that the housing market is becoming dominated by investors and property flippers who buy, renovate, and sell homes quickly to maximize profit, often driving prices up and destabilizing neighborhoods. In contrast, long-term owner-occupiers tend to contribute more to their communities, maintain their properties well, and reduce the turnover that disrupts school zones, local services, and neighborhood cohesion. The new discount would likely be applied gradually, increasing the longer you stay, with the biggest benefits kicking in at the 10-year mark. According to early modeling from state revenue departments, this could lead to thousands in annual savings on council rates and land taxes for eligible homeowners. For buyers planning to settle down, this is great news. It encourages people to think long-term, build roots, and invest emotionally and financially in their local areas. It's also designed to level the playing field between ordinary families and speculative investors who often have tax advantages. Critics say it might not have a big impact in fast-moving housing markets, but supporters argue it's a step toward rebuilding community-focused living in a system that's become too profit-driven. If you're planning to buy a home and make it your forever place, this law could be one of the most rewarding financial decisions you'll make, not just for your wallet, but for your quality of life.
Number 7. Green building grants for homeowners. What if making your home more eco-friendly didn't just help the planet, but also put thousands of dollars back in your pocket? That's the goal behind the 2026 rollout of Green Building Grants for Homeowners. This ambitious program will offer up to $15,000 in government subsidies to help Australians upgrade their homes with solar panels, rainwater tanks, insulation, double-glazed windows, and energy-efficient heating and cooling systems. The grants are part of Australia's broader strategy to meet net zero emissions by 2050, but they're also a practical solution to rising energy bills. According to a 2025 report from the Climate Council, Australian households spend over $2,000 a year on energy, much of it lost through poor insulation and outdated appliances. These grants aim to reduce those costs dramatically, especially for families who can't afford upgrades on their own.
The program is designed to be accessible, easy to apply for, and focused on the most impactful improvements. Homeowners will be able to choose upgrades based on their home's needs and energy profile, with extra incentives available for low-income households or those living in older homes. This isn't just about being green, it's about being smart. Installing solar panels or improving insulation can increase your home's value, reduce your carbon footprint, and create a more comfortable living environment year-round. Plus, with the government covering a large portion of the cost, the return on investment becomes even more attractive. For those thinking long-term, this is the perfect time to future-proof your property. Whether you're planning to stay for decades or sell in a few years, these upgrades can make a real difference. With the 2026 Green Building Grants, sustainability finally meets savings, and every Australian homeowner stands to benefit.
8. Mandatory rental property registration. How do you really know if the property you're renting is safe, legal, and well-maintained? Right now, you don't, because in many parts of Australia, there's no consistent system for tracking rental properties. But that's about to change. In 2026, the government plans to introduce a mandatory rental property registration system that will bring much-needed transparency and accountability to the rental market. Under this reform, all landlords will be required to register their rental properties on a national database, including key information like safety compliance, energy ratings, inspection history, and whether the property meets minimum housing standards. This registry will be accessible to tenants, regulators, and local councils, making it easier to track issues and ensure fair, legal rental practices. Why does this matter? Because right now, many tenants are unknowingly living in properties with serious maintenance issues, fire hazards, or non-compliant structures. A 2024 investigation by the Australian Tenants Union found that nearly 1 in 5 rental properties had unreported safety or legal concerns, many of which would not pass basic inspections. This new system aims to weed out negligent landlords, improve housing quality, and empower renters with information. It also helps responsible landlords by creating a level playing field where those who follow the rules aren't undercut by those cutting corners. For tenants, it's a game changer. Before signing a lease, you'll be able to look up the property, check its track record, and avoid known problem homes. For the industry as a whole, it marks a shift toward professionalizing rental management, protecting both renters and landlords. In the long run, this registry could transform Australia's rental market from one of uncertainty to one built on trust, safety, and verified quality, something every renter deserves.
Number 9. Fast-track planning for affordable housing projects. Australia is facing a housing supply crisis, especially when it comes to affordable homes. Construction delays, red tape, and endless council approvals have slowed the delivery of much-needed housing, leaving thousands stuck on waiting lists or paying far more than they can afford. But in 2026, a major reform aims to change that, with fast-track planning for affordable housing projects. This new law will require local councils and state planning bodies to prioritize and expedite approvals for developments that include affordable or social housing components. In other words, if a project includes homes priced below market rates or units for essential workers, it jumps to the front of the queue. According to the Planning Institute of Australia, this kind of fast-tracking could cut approval times in half, helping to speed up construction and ease the housing shortage more quickly. The goal is simple but powerful: build more homes, faster, in the areas that need them most. These reforms also encourage developers to integrate affordable housing into regular residential projects, creating mixed-income communities that reduce social segregation and promote diversity. For first-home buyers, renters, and lower-income Australians, this could mean more choices, shorter waiting periods, and access to homes in well-located, desirable areas, not just on the city fringe.
For developers, it's an incentive to build smarter and more inclusively. Of course, councils will still have to ensure safety and design standards are met, but the days of affordable housing projects being stuck in planning limbo could soon be over. If successful, this reform could unlock thousands of new homes each year, making it one of the most impactful housing policies in the 2026 reform package, helping more Australians find a place they can truly call home.
Number 10. Stronger tenancy discrimination protections. Have you ever been rejected for a rental and wondered if it was really about your application or something else entirely? For many Australians, especially those on Centrelink payments, single parents, international students, or people from diverse backgrounds, discrimination in the rental market is a quiet but common experience. In 2026, that could finally change with the introduction of stronger tenancy discrimination protections, a law designed to make the rental process fairer, more transparent, and more inclusive. This reform will make it illegal for landlords or agents to reject applicants based on age, race, gender, disability, family status, or source of income. While some protections already exist in state anti-discrimination laws, enforcement has been patchy, and many tenants don't even realize their rights have been violated. The 2026 law aims to bring national consistency and real consequences for discrimination, including fines, blacklisting of repeat offenders, and improved access to appeals through tenancy tribunals. Backed by recommendations from the Australian Human Rights Commission, this law will also require landlords to give written reasons for rejecting an application if requested, shining a light on decisions that are often made behind closed doors. It also proposes the introduction of anonymous application processes, where possible, to reduce unconscious bias in early screening. For renters who have long felt excluded, this change offers hope and dignity. It means being judged on your ability to maintain a tenancy, not your postcode, parenting status, or the color of your skin. And for the rental market as a whole, it sets a new standard of fairness. In a country as diverse as Australia, housing should never be out of reach because of who you are. This law could be a turning point in ensuring equal access to safe and secure housing for all. Australia's housing system is on the edge of a massive transformation, and the 2026 reforms could be the most significant in decades. From freezing rent increases to boosting energy standards, from protecting tenants against unfair evictions to rewarding long-term homeownership, these 10 laws are not just political promises, they're real changes that could reshape how we live, rent, and own in this country. For renters, it means more stability, transparency, and fairness. No more sudden evictions, no more shivering in poorly insulated homes. And finally, a system that begins to treat housing as a right, not just a commodity. For homeowners, there are financial rewards for loyalty, greener homes, and better tools to make smart property decisions. And for future buyers, the dream of owning a home might actually feel reachable again. Of course, every change comes with challenges. Some landlords worry about overregulation. Developers might resist planning restrictions, and not everyone agrees on the long-term impact. But what's clear is this: doing nothing is no longer an option. Australia's housing crisis has been building for years, and 2026 could be the year we finally turn the tide. So what does this mean for you? Whether you're renting, buying, investing, or just trying to keep a roof over your head, these laws could directly impact your rights, your costs, and your future. Now is the time to stay informed, ask questions, and understand what these changes mean for your situation. Again, if you found this video helpful, give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates on housing, finance, and life in Australia. And let us know in the comments, which of these laws do you think will have the biggest impact on your life? Your home is your foundation. Let's make sure it's protected, fair, and future-ready.